12th degree or Master Architect. The first 11 degrees of the ancient and accepted Rite are a complete course of architecture, and a long and serious study of human nature having been necessary thus to lead a man from his primitive state of nakedness to the beneficent forms of society. It must be acknowledged that a Mason thus experienced in the practical science of his profession, has a right to an increase of knowledge. Each Mason has his peculiar talent and merit, which deserves a proportionate reward, but a Mason who by dint of labor has succeeded in ascertaining the origin of things and in combining them together for the good of mankind, is truly a Grand Master Architect. Decorations. This assembly is called a chapter. It must be hung with white tapestry strewed with red flames. The 5 orders of architecture should be delineated in the chapter, together with the representation of the North Star in the north, and 7 small stars surrounding it in form of the Ursa Major, signifying that as the North Star is a sure guide to mariners, so should virtue be the guiding star of every Grand Master Architect. Titles. The Master seated in the east represents King Solomon, and is styled Most Powerful. Before him a table with a case of mathematical instruments upon it. The Senior Warden in the west is called Ground Inspector. Before him a table with instruments upon it. Junior Warden in the south, the same. Clothing. The brethren are clothed as in the preceding grade, with the order, jewel and apron of a Grand Master Architect. Solomon wears a white robe. Apron, white lined and bordered with black. In the center of the apron is a pocket. Order, blue ribbon from the right shoulder to the left hip, at the bottom hangs the jewel. Jewel, is a square medal with equal sides. On one side of the medal must be engraved 4 half circles with 7 stars. In the center is a triangle with the letters GA interwoven thus. On the reverse must be engraved the 5 orders of architecture. On the top is a level, and below, a square, compass and a cross. In the center are the letters R, M. Below the columns are their initials, Tuscan, Doric, Ionic, Corinthian and Composite. Opening ceremonies. Most Powerful, strikes once, then twice. Senior Warden, strikes once, then twice. Junior Warden, strikes once, then twice. Most Powerful, what is your duty, Brother Inspector? Senior Warden, Most Powerful, the chapter is well dialed and the profane cannot penetrate into our mysteries. Most Powerful, are you a Grand Master Architect? Senior Warden, I know what is contained in a perfect case of mathematical instruments. Most Powerful, what is contained in a simple case? Senior Warden, a compass with 5 points, a parallel rule, a scale, a compass of proportion, a protractor, on which are engraven 180 degrees. Most Powerful, where were you received an architect? Senior Warden, in a white place figured with flames. Most Powerful, what do they mean? Senior Warden, the white signifies the purity of the heart and the flames the zeal of the masters. Most Powerful, what do the stars in the north mean? Senior Warden, that virtue should guide every Mason in his actions, as the North Star does the mariner in his navigation. Most Powerful, what is the hour? Senior Warden, the evening star has risen. Night and doubt prevail. Most Powerful, since it is so, let us study to find out path. Most Powerful, knocks once, then twice. Senior Warden, knocks once, then twice. Junior Warden, knocks once, then twice. Most Powerful, opens the case of instruments. This box is opened. N.B. On a square altar is placed the balance of the preceding degree, and at each corner of the altar, 4 columns, Doric, Tuscan, Ionic and Corinthian, which with the composite columns supporting the balance make the 5 orders. To each string of the balance is now attached a star, total 6 stars, which with the 9 pointed stars already suspended to the balance, and which now represents the North Star, makes the 7 stars of the Ursa Minor. Initiation. The candidate must be decorated as a sublime knight elected. Master of Ceremonies, knocks once, then twice. Grand Inspector, Most Powerful, there is an alarm at the door. Most Powerful, Brother Expert, ascertain the cause of that alarm. Expert, goes to the door, knocks once then twice, and opens it. Who knocks at the door of our chapter to interrupt our deliberations? Master of Ceremonies, Brother Joab, not being satisfied with the knowledge he has already attained, and the dignities conferred on him, finds he cannot measure distance beyond the reach of his limbs, nor can he find his path through darkness, or in unknown places. Expert, most powerful, it is Brother Joabert who, not being satisfied with the knowledge he has already attained and the dignities conferred upon him, finds he cannot measure distance beyond the reach of his limbs, nor can he find his path through darkness, or in unknown places. Most powerful, let him be admitted. Expert, let him be admitted. Master of ceremonies enters with the candidate and stands him between the altar and the west, facing the east. Most powerful, Brother Joabert, what seek you here? Master of ceremonies, most powerful, Brother Joabert, not being satisfied with the knowledge he has already attained and the dignities conferred upon him, finds he cannot measure distance beyond the reach of his limbs, nor can he find his path through darkness or in unknown places. Most powerful, Brother Joabert, the desire to know these things is most laudable and should be gratified, and for the purpose of teaching them I have established this school of architects for the instruction of the craftsmen employed in building the temple, to animate them with a desire of arriving at perfection in the royal art. But before you can be admitted as a member of this school of architects, you must give me undoubted proof of your knowledge and skill in the degrees you have already taken. Most powerful, Brother Joabert, are you a secret master? Master of ceremonies, most powerful, I have the honor of being received and acknowledged as such. Most powerful, give the sign, token and word to the senior grand warden. He turns and gives them. Most powerful, Brother Joabert, are you a perfect master? Master of ceremonies, most powerful, I have seen the circles in the square placed on the two columns across. Most powerful, give the sign, token and word to the junior grand warden. He turns and gives them. Most powerful, Brother Joabert, are you an intimate secretary? Master of ceremonies, most powerful, I am, lifting up his eyes. Most powerful, give the sign, token and word to the senior grand warden. He turns and gives them. Most powerful, Brother Joabert, are you a provost and judge? Master of ceremonies, most powerful, I have distributed justice impartially to all the workmen. Most powerful, give the sign, token and word to the junior grand warden. He turns and gives them. Most powerful, Brother Joabert, are you an intendant of the building? Master of ceremonies, most powerful, I have taken the 5 steps of exactitude, I have penetrated into the inner parts of the temple, I have seen the Hebrew character, the mysterious J's without knowing what they meant. Most powerful, give the sign, token and word to the senior grand warden. He turns and gives them. Most powerful, Brother Joabert, are you an elected master of 9? Master of ceremonies, most powerful, the ballot alone has determined that matter, and I have been made acquainted with the cave. Most powerful, give the sign, token and word to the junior grand warden. He turns and gives them. Most powerful, Brother Joabert, are you an illustrious elected of 15? Master of ceremonies, most powerful, my zeal and my work have procured me this degree. Most powerful, give the sign, token and word to the senior grand warden. He turns and gives them. Most powerful, Brother Joabert, are you a sublime elected knight? Master of ceremonies, most powerful, my name will inform you. Most powerful, give the signs, token and word to the junior grand warden. He turns and gives them. Most powerful, Brother Joabert, it gives me joy unspeakable to find you thus skilled in our royal art, and as a reward for the faithful and meritorious, I will now confer upon you the degree of Grand Master Architect. Come and contract your obligation. Master of ceremonies then causes him to take 3 square steps to the altar, where he kneels and takes the obligation. Obligation. I state your name in full, promise and swear on the obligations I have already taken and contracted to keep secret the degree of Grand Master Architect with which I am going to be entrusted, as well in regard to masons as to the profane. I further promise to adore my God, to be faithful to my king and country, to be charitable to my neighbors and brothers, submitting myself, in case of any infraction of this my obligation, to have my body severed in 2, my memory lost and looked upon as infamous and forsworn. I further promise and consent that my name may be written in red letters and hung up in the chapter as a mark of my infamy. So God and his holy evangelist keep me. Amen. Most powerful, arise Brother Joabert, You will now take 3 square steps to the senior warden who would invest you with the sign, token and word of a Grand Master Architect. He does as ordered when the senior warden invests him as follows. Sign. Slide the right hand into palm with the left as if holding a pencil in one hand, and in the other a tracing board. Make the motion of tracing a plan on the palm with the left hand, every now and then directing the eyes towards the Grand Master as if drawing by dictation. Token. Join right hand to the other's left, interlacing the fingers. Place the left hand on the hip. The brother will do the same with his right hand. Password, Rabba name. Sacred word, Adonai. Battery, 3-stroke, by 1 and 2. March. Make 3 steps so as to form a square, the first step slowed, the 2 others somewhat quicker. Hours of work, open on the day when Solomon commenced the building of the temple. Close on the day the temple was completed. Moral, that virtue is as necessary as talent to every Grand Master Architect. Senior Warden, Brother Joe Abbott, you will now take 3 square steps to the altar and face the most powerful. He does so. Most powerful, Brother Joe Abbott, Solomon determined to form a school of architects for the instruction of those who conducted the work of the temple, to encourage and improve such as were worthy, and to promote from thence those whose zeal and discretion should make them deserving the highest degree of perfection, induced him to create the degree of Grand Master Architect. Solomon, full of justice, and foreseeing the events which were likely to take place, willing to recompense the zeal and virtue of the sublime knights, that they might approach nearer the celestial throne of the great architect of the universe, induced him to cast his eyes on those who were last made illustrious knights in order to effect the promise which God made to Enoch, Noah, Moses and David, that if through ardor they penetrated into the bowels of the earth, it would not avail unless divine providence permitted it. The improvements you will now make, Brother Joe Abbott, in the study of geometry will no doubt procure you the means of unfolding the most sublime knowledge. Upon the altar now before you, behold a case of mathematical instruments for that purpose, containing first the parallel ruler, second, the tracing dividers, third, the scale of parts, fourth, sector, fifth, the protractor. And behold also the polar star. Brother Joe Abbott, by the help of these we are enabled to measure all distances and guide ourselves through darkness and unknown places. First, the parallel ruler enables us to draw 2 lines equidistant from each other at every point, so that they never can meet, which signifies that the agreement of the works of the Grand Architect is determined by means of equalizing opposition of forces, and hence, that in human government the division and balancing of powers is essential. Second, the tracing dividers enable us to draw distinct and perfect circles and to mark the points they give us. This signifies that we must have a distinct design before we act. Third, the scale of parts enables us to make all our designs proportionate, so that all the parts and incidents will agree together in fulfilling the object we seek to accomplish. This signifies that truth is self-consistent and every distinct truth agrees with all other truth, hence so that one deed may not ultimately clash with another. Fourth, the sector enables us to adapt our proportions to the limits assigned. This teaches us to reduce our designs to the measure of our means and time. Fifth, the protractor enables us to draw angled from a given point and to protract and measure lines at all distances. This shows the necessity of having a fixed and sure beginning in order to discover truth, or to act with confidence. Sixth, the North Star demonstrates the universal harmony and stability of the works of the Grand Architect of the universe. In fact, the whole planetary system presents a field worthy the attention of the whole civilized population of the globe, and more particularly the members of the Masonic institution, which was originally a school of science. Each and every planet has by the Grand Architect of the universe been assigned to some definite position and all of them so arranged by divine wisdom to act in concert with each other, the combination of which produces to our view an arrangement, the extent of which the human mind cannot comprehend. Some of them are designed to shed light to this planet, Earth, and among those and the greatest of all is the sun which spreads light and lustre to all within its circle. You, my worthy brother, having passed through the intermediate degrees and having been endorsed by these Grand Master Architects who now surround you, and among whom you are now admitted a member, it becomes my duty as the most powerful to call your attention to that great power of attraction known as the North Star, and although it does not shed as brilliant rays of light as others, yet it is of equal importance, and in fact, Without its assistance, all mankind would be like a blind man groping his way over the trackless ocean or through the prairies of forests, which stand as temporary barriers to the walks of man and the waves in the exercise of their irresistible power, advance or recede as nature or God directs, and as the needle is ever true to the pole by which the mariner can at all times know the course he is pursuing. Let it teach you this moral: you are now on board the ship of life, tossed about on the boisterous sea of trouble, bound for eternity. The breakers of malice and persecution surround your craft, the quicksands of deceit and hypocrisy are beneath you, close under your are the rocks of perdition. Now, my illustrious brother, is the suspicious moment. Place your trust in the great architect of heaven and earth. Take justice for your polar star, prudence at the helm, temperance for your guide. Let your sails fill with a gentle breeze of charity, and you will in the end find yourself moored in that peaceful harbor, where the wicked cease from troubling and the weary are at rest. Shuts the case of instruments. My brother, apply these to all things, moral, mental, social, religious and political, and then we will be proud of you as a Grand Master Architect, to which dignity you are now admitted and to which you are now devoted, which will procure you knowledge sufficient to take away the veil from before your eyes which yet remains there, and would enable you to arrive at the perfect and sublime degree. By practicing the many valuable lessons you have learned in the preceding grades, and above all the study of geometry, and by making virtue your guide through the journey through life, we hope and trust that you will be fitted for the duties of a Grand Master Architect, and gain admission into the secret place where you may rest from your labors, and with joy unspeakable, contemplate the pillar of beauty. My brother, the history of the degree which you have just now taken is short. I would merely say to you that Masonic tradition informs us that King Solomon established this grade with a view to forming a school of architecture for the instruction of the craftsmen employed in the building of the temple, and to animate them with a desire of arriving at perfection in the royal art. He was a prince equally renowned for his justice, wisdom and foresight. He therefore desired to reward the faithful and meritorious craftsmen, so that by perfection in the art, they might be better prepared to approach the throne of God. He accordingly, for this purpose, cast his eyes upon the grand masters of the workmen, the sublime knights elected as persons properly qualified to assist him in preparing for the fulfillment of the promise made to Enoch, to Moses and to David, that in the fullness of time, God would dwell in a fixed temple and that his name should be there. Thus, my brother, ends the degree of Grand Master Architect. Closing ceremonies. Most powerful, Brother Inspector, give me the sign. Inspector gives it. Most powerful, opens his case of instruments and says, "Let us work." All the brethren present arrange their instruments on the table 3 by 3. Most powerful, puts his left hand on the compass of proportion, leaning on his right. Brother Inspector, do you know only this work? Inspector, I comprehend another. Most powerful, give me the token. Inspector, advances and gives it. Most powerful, give me the password. Inspector, Rab. Most powerful, go on, Brother Inspector. Inspector, BA. Most powerful, make an end. Inspector, name. Most powerful, makes a triangle with his compass and rule and says, "My dear brethren, we will finish." All replace their instruments in their cases. We finish. Most powerful, Brother Inspector, what's the hour? Inspector, the two principles are reconciled, and beauty is generated, the morning star has risen. Most powerful, strikes 1 by 2. Brother Inspector, give notice that this chapter is closed. Inspector, strikes 1 by 2. Brethren, you will please take notice that this chapter is closed. Junior Warden, strikes 1 by 2. Brethren, you will please take notice that this chapter is closed. All give the sign and the chapter is closed.